Hey, podcast listeners, my name is Neil, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Get Your Comic Con podcast. This week, we are diving deep into Spider-Man Brand New Day, which is in cinemas across the world now and just burning up every penny that people are paying on tickets this weekend. We are doing a full-on spoiler review of this one. So if you've not seen the film yet, please do go away and come back later because we're going to ruin all of the surprises for you in this pretty spectacular film. But you might have noticed we've got a little change in the lineup today. I am joined by Michael, but we are joined for the very first time by Bella. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's so cool to be here. I've been trying to catch up and listen to the last few so I can get like the right vibe.
Oh, uh-oh. Yeah, I'm not really sure what our vibe is actually. We have to be
Chaos.
very careful not to start talking about Aaron as if he's Jerry Halliwell again after the last time he took a week off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
We
funny.
have a tendency to disappear down a bit of a rabbit hole. But we're really excited to have you with us to get your point of view on this one. This is going to be a really cool discussion.
Yeah, I'm really excited because I realized I went with my little sister to go see it, but I realized I've seen
Ooh,
every Tom Holland Spider-Man film at the cinema, so I really wanted to keep the tradition
nice.
going. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Amazing. And Michael, how you doing? Not seen you in a little
I'm,
while.
I'm good. I'm good. Been very busy, but I'm excited to be talking about Spider-Man. It's kind of consumed my week this week. It's all I've spoke about. So
Yeah, I've
yeah,
seen all
I'm
your
very excited.
videos. They've been really
Yeah,
cool.
you're pulling Martin in. You're putting him on camera and everything.
Yeah, we're kind of having a bit of like a re-vibe. Because when I started out all of this, it was meant to be like a little like magazine-y vibe. It was never
Yeah.
meant to be just me. And then it became just me. And then I don't know, it's just kind of evolved a bit. So yeah, we've roped Martin in. He's included now.
Did you give him a choice? Because I didn't give my Martin much of a choice when I forced him to do the same thing.
Like yes and no. I had an idea of a video. I was like, "Do you want to be in this?" And he was like, "Sure." And then we did it, and he was like, "Actually, that was really fun." I was like, "Well, we can do this more often." I was like, "It can be a 50-50 thing. It doesn't need to be just me." And yeah, so he's included now. We have like a new like logo thing that we're working on. It's going to be literally
Nice.
50-50, the both of us. So it's going to be really cute.
Oh, love it. Amazing.
Yeah,
Oh, excited to see more from that then.
thank you.
Okay. So Spider-Man. This is I feel like for me, I knew so much about this film going in that I'm interested to hear what you guys knew about and didn't know about before you sat down to watch this. But let's do the vital statistics first. So this is Tom Holland's fourth outing as Spider-Man. This one is directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, who also directed Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings for Marvel and was due to direct Avengers: The Kang Dynasty before all of their plans changed. It stars Tom Holland, obviously. Zendaya is back. Jacob Batalon is also back. Several other people are also back that we will get to as we're talking about it. And it also stars Sadie Sink as a character that you may or may not have known who she was when you were going in to watch this film. That has been a huge talking point on the internet for a very, 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 very long time and a really key part of the film's marketing as well. But I thought before we got down to our thoughts on the actual film itself, we would talk just a little bit about how we were feeling going in. So, Bella, I'm going to come to you first.
Hmm.
Where were you on this film when you went into the cinema? Were you excited for it? What were you expecting? What did you know? What
Hmm.
were you not spoiled on?
Yeah,
Catch
I
us up.
mean, I it was weird because I think when the trailer dropped, I remember we were all discussing it in our little
Mm.
Discord server. And I was really not excited by the trailer, which I was really surprised by. I think there was so much going on. I was like, gosh,
Yeah.
this is gonna be a lot. There wasn't really one thing that really drew me in, I think, when I saw it. Apart from seeing Spider-Man's potential like evolution into like more Spider than Man, that was like the
Yeah.
main, I think, drawing point. I think going into it, like, I think it's interesting because I think if you ask anyone, like, I'm sure you guys will have a different opinion. I feel like everyone's favorite Tom Holland like solo Spider-Man film is different because I think
Mm.
I feel like I'm the only person who really loved Far From Home. I really really enjoyed it. I think that's probably my favorite. And whereas like my sister was like her least favorite. Um,
Interesting.
so I think yeah, it's hard because I think if you have your personal favorite going into it,
Yeah.
it's difficult because every story is completely different. And I was also intrigued because I wrote that really nice article for
Yes.
our site, like going back over everything that he'd been up to as his time as Spider-Man, which was really helpful for me because I
Good
had
catch up.
forgotten a lot. Yeah, exactly. But I just realized like we've seen such a like happy-go-lucky young Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I was really excited because they were marketing this so strongly on like, you know, he's matured now and he's going to be facing this like incredible threat without any support group. So I was sort of intrigued how that was going to go down. But I think, yeah, like it had been such a long time since we had that absolute cliffhanger of Peter being
Yeah.
forgotten by everyone. It was like, I really felt like they had a lot to prove with this film, so I was intrigued to see sort of how that went down. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think I was excited as maybe like I had been in the past.
I felt kind of similar as well. Michael, what about you?
Um, I was kind of indifferent, really. Like I knew it would be good, but the trailer didn't really do it any justice. I
Yep.
kind of agree. I feel like it wasn't. I think because I was trying to hide so much, like when you're trying to hide so many plot points, it's really hard to create a trailer that looks cool because obviously you don't want to spoil it. So
Yeah.
yeah, the trailer was a bit lacking for me, but I didn't know many of the spoilers going into this one, like I did
Amazing.
the prior one. The prior one was completely ruined for me, so that was kind of annoying. But this one, I mean, there was rumblings on the internet of like who Sadie Sink was playing, but like nothing was concrete. Like
Yeah.
so, yeah, it made it a little bit more enjoyable this time round, which I appreciated.
Nice. Yeah, I'm similar. I felt like there was a lot going on between all of the various trailers that we had seen, like between seeing Scorpion, seeing bits from that opening montage, so knowing that the Hand were in it, that there were going to be some other villains in it as well, knowing that you're going to have Sadie Sink in there and Punisher, and it felt like it was going to be really, really busy, and I was worried it was going to feel overstuffed, which it didn't necessarily, but I've got some pros or cons to that, which we can talk about when we get to the story. But I was also, yeah, I was just a bit worried. I just wasn't sure. I think a change in director is always a thing as well, because John Watts had done such an amazing job with the last three that even though I really like Shang-Chi, it was a bit like, whoa, we've got someone new here. Like, what if they don't get Spider-Man? Or what if, I don't know, what if the relationships have changed on set and it doesn't quite work? But hey, we will get to what we thought about it. Sadly, everything had been spoiled for me, so I knew who Sadie
Oh
Sink
no.
was.
Oh,
I knew. Well, okay, I had one that was wrong, which was really. Actually, I had two that were wrong, which was really interesting. Um, one of the like big internet scoopers had the VMAX thing so wrong that it was really funny to see
That's
it not
crazy.
become anything. So if you hadn't seen it, the rumor was that this VMAX thing was actually a compound made of the tiny slither of venom that had been left behind by Tom Hardy.
Oh.
Um, and
oh.
that was going to be an actual thing that people were after to try and get um, to use its like alien properties. Cats decided to join me. Um,
Oh.
so I spent a lot of the film being like, I know what VMAX is, and like a couple of people that were sat either side of me were like, what is it? What is it? What is it? I was like, it's Venom. It's Venom. And then it was what it actually was in the film, and I was like, oh, okay. So Scooper got that wrong, and then there was another one which we'll talk about a little bit later, which I think might have been a change to the film, but we'll find out. Um, so I figured let's try and structure our like conversation on this one. Let's be professional because we've got Bella with us, and we're consummate professional hosts. So
Of
I thought we'll
course.
start with the story because there is a lot of story in this film. There are a lot of different things happening, more than I even anticipated going in. So we're picking up with Peter as this kind of lonely, almost PTSD ridden 21, 22 year old. Following on from the spell and everything, he's living very isolated, but he does have this really nice relationship with Detective DeWolf, played by Liza Colon-Zayas from The Bear, who I thought was really well cast. She was one of my
Agree.
favorites in this film.
Yeah.
And it's it's such a roller coaster of a story for him, and I feel like that was the core of the film was his arc, and I really loved what they did with him. But then you do have the Scorpion story, you do have the Hand story, you do have the Department of Damage Control story, and Sadie Sink story, and then Ned's story and MJ's story, and it's like there are a lot of different things going on. So, what were you guys thoughts on how the story played out, and did it work? Did it not work? Did you feel it was a bit disjointed, too busy? Michael, I'm going to come to you first this time. What did you think about how it was all put together in the end?
I personally thought it all came together in the end. It was really busy, and as the film was kind of going on, I was like, "Shit, there's a lot of elements at play. Like, is it going to get a little bit too crowded? Is it not going to like land the plane, so to speak?" But I think when the credits roll, I feel like it all made sense and it all connected really well. I don't think anyone's story was really shortchanged. I feel like all the characters got the moments they needed. You know, like Zendaya's character got a lot of stuff to do, and like Ned's character got a lot of stuff to do. And yeah, I just feel like there was a lot of balancing going on, and I personally feel like he did a really good job.
Hmm.
And I actually really liked Spider-Man's arc in this story.
Yeah.
It been a little bit more darker and a little bit more, like you say, PTSD ridden. And yeah, I just thought it was a really good portrayal of Spider-Man. It's one that I don't think we've really seen much. Like when you look at all of the other films,
Yeah.
it is a little bit more gritty and a little bit more dark, and I quite liked that. But yeah, I thought it worked for me.
You're right. We haven't really seen, I don't know that we've ever really seen him in his 20s, even. I can't remember how old Tobey Maguire is sort of supposed to be. I don't think we ever really sort of acknowledge how
Yeah,
old or how much time passes across his three films. And with Andrew Garfield, it wasn't really supposed to be much time between the first one and the second one. So
Yeah.
he's
yeah,
always been really, really young, and same with all the cartoons and everything as well. So it was cool to get to see that, and it I think it was right to do that because of Tom Holland being what 30 now. So
Yeah.
you can only
yeah,
get away with playing a teenager for so long, but also it probably just isn't interesting to him to go back to pretending to be what it was like 10, 15 years before that.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it makes sense. Interesting. I'm glad that you felt it served everyone really well because there were a couple of characters that I thought got a little bit lost. Like Ned, for instance, I thought was a bit underused. I felt like the bits that he, this is my problem with the way I thought it ended up being was I feel like when he's in it, he makes a really great impression. Like I love the scene where they're just building Lego and
Hmm.
the fact that even though he's still in the suit and you can't even see Tom Holland's face, he emotes so well that feeling of like, this is the most fun I've had in years because I'm finally connecting with people again. But
Yeah.
there were a few
Yeah,
things that sort of bothered me, like again with the DeWolf character, I loved that relationship. Like those phone conversations between the two of them, feeling like the only bit of human connection he had. I loved that, but then she disappeared for like an hour and reappeared at the end, and I was a bit like, why couldn't she have still been there, even if it was in a smaller capacity, like throughout? I felt like
Yeah.
it sort of forgot her for a while, a bit like how Banner just doesn't exist for most of the film, and then he's there, and then they fight,
Yeah.
and then he's gone. And it ended up feeling a little bit sort of episodic to me in that way. I almost felt like I just binged a limited series, and it was like, okay, so the first episode, we're seeing that he's lonely and he's got this relationship with this detective. In the
Yeah.
second episode, he's now starting to deal with this strange mutation. In the third episode, we've got a special guest star in Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, and it ended up feeling like that, which wasn't necessarily bad. I was just a bit like things are coming and going, like we're almost forgetting ideas a little bit and then remembering them later on when we need them. Um,
yeah.
Yeah.
so
I see that.
that was a slight sort of drawback for me, but not a massive one. Bella, how about
Mm.
you?
Yeah, it's interesting because, yeah, as we're talking about it, I realised like I've kind of grown up with these films because I'm the same age as he's supposed to be like right now, which is really lovely. Like, because I remember seeing them when I was like 15, 16.
Yeah,
And I thought that the strongest part of the film was his emotional journey. It's like
yeah,
I agree with
definitely.
Michael for sure. Like that,
Yeah,
I really resonated with it. I think it's like a really true experience for a lot of people, a lot of young people for sure. Like I know like a lot of people who've had those feelings. I also agree that there was a lot going on. I think the trailer made it feel like more overstuffed than it
Yeah, it
actually
did.
ended up being, which
Being,
I
yeah,
found really
agreed.
funny. Yeah, it was very weird to
Yeah,
me. I think I kind of am in the middle with what you guys are saying. I I think I felt satisfied by some parts, like things like the emotional story, and
yeah,
also I think we'll get on to talk about it. But like the action was so
yes,
brilliantly shot. I think that was some of
yes,
the best like Tom Holland Spider-Man
absolutely.
action we've seen.
oh yeah,
100%. I also think there were a lot of disservices to some great characters, like the dwarf character. I thought she was great, and it's true she does just completely disappear in the middle. I wasn't really happy with the way that they played out the sort of MJ Ned
Okay, interesting.
relationship. Yeah, I think
oh,
a lot of people had said to me that they were like really emotional watching this film. So when
Hmm.
I sat down to watch it, I was surprised by the fact that I wasn't as touched by it. I think I was more touched by previous films. I think I agree with what Neil said. I think we could have had more of like Ned. I think that's the thing. He's such a central character in the other film, so it's like I think they've tried to supplement that energy with the Punisher.
Yeah,
That sort of like camaraderie, and I think that really worked. I think weirdly, like their relationship was one of the also strongest parts of the film. I really
yeah,
enjoyed that, but I think I wasn't particularly happy with the amount of time that MJ and Ned had with Peter. I don't think it's a difficult one because obviously like they can't shove them together because they can't. If they just did the
They don't
Hollywood
know
thing
him,
of
yeah.
exactly, if they did the Hollywood thing of
Yeah.
being like, oh, we remember you, like it would have been really silly, and they kind of like subvert that a little bit in one of the scenes with like Sadie Sink's character, which I thought was really great. But yeah, I think for the most part I really enjoyed it, and I think like Michael said, I really enjoyed how dark it felt. But yeah, I think there were moments that could have been better served for some characters, for sure. I think
Yeah.
a lot of them kind of tried to serve this greater purpose of like of this sort of theme of mental health. So like sort of like the Hulk, I think, was purely there to kind of be sort of an add-on to Peter's story of like needing to control the differences that you have within you that can make life difficult. And I'm sure I'll get on to talk about it, but I've spoken to a lot of other critics who've read it in a really neurodivergent reading, which
Okay.
was really surprising for me. Going into it, I was like, this is some of the best, like, I feel neurodivergent representation I've ever seen in film, which I was really shocked by. It was like the last thing I expected from a Spider-Man film. But that, I think, has spoken to a lot of people. So I think that's the achieving moment for this film, for sure.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people as well who are talking about, and this is naturally bound to become a much bigger conversation in the MCU when it's moving towards the X-Men, but
Mm.
a lot of kind of queer coding in it as well because of the whole
Yes.
idea of, mutant gene and how that separates you, makes you different, and how people treat you just because you're different, and that whole analogy that goes with the entire history of the X-Men.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's I don't know how to refer to it because it doesn't really have much of a name in it. His inhibitor and his own mutation in the film is something that was really strong from the cartoons. If you watch the 90s cartoon, it was called the Neogenic Saga, and it weaves in lots of different characters, including Punisher, including Morbius, interestingly, which is where I thought they would have gone if they'd folded that whole universe in together. That was something that I had a lot of expectations for in this film, just because of growing up with the 90s cartoon and having read how that kind of worked in the comics. And this ends up being very different. And I guess they kind of haven't tied it off. It's maybe not quite finished yet and could come back because yes, he accepted who he was and they used it as a great analogy for his emotional journey. But I feel like that mutation is kind of still there. His eyes can still turn black and he can still go a bit
Mm.
superpowered. What did you guys think about those moments? Have you watched, Bella, have you watched the 90s cartoon? Do you know about that? Do you know about Man Spider and where that kind of goes?
I haven't, but you guys
Okay.
did inform me a little bit in the group chat,
Yeah.
so I felt like I was a little bit more prepared going in. I got like a crash course. I actually really enjoyed that because I think we saw him coming really close to killing people when he
Yes.
was in that moment, and I think that's what's, and we'll talk about it, but that's what's so brilliant at the end when he finds the balance of both. It's quite frightening because like I was thinking about it the whole time. There was a family next to me and there was a little kid and he was so tiny, wearing ear defenders, and he had like a Spider-Man hat, head next to him, and I was just thinking the whole time, like, God, he's seeing his childhood hero like
Yeah.
coming close to actually killing people. Like that must be a lot. But I think I really enjoyed it, and I think we don't know when we're going to see this incarnation of Spider-Man
No,
again.
true.
So I'm really intrigued to see how this comes into play in his evolution as it continues, because I think we've only seen a snippet of how he's
Yeah.
sort of harnessed this. But like I said, I think I think that's the reason why it's worked for so many people, is just it does really resonate with, people who've had struggles, and then you sort of have to learn to live with that part of you that has struggles. I think that's really like spoken to a lot of people. So I think actually, again, like I think those parts were incredibly strong. Apart from it being incredibly gross when he's got like little spurts of web coming out of his face, that was disgusting. I
played
love
that
that
really
part
well.
when he was like gagging in his
Yeah.
mask. That really made me laugh. I thought that
That
was
was
brilliant.
funny. Yeah, that
Yeah.
got big laughs out of the well, I've seen the film twice. It
Yeah.
got big laughs at the press screening and again when I saw it with a general audience.
Yeah.
Michael, where were you on the 90s cartoon? Had you seen it? Did you have expectations that he was going to properly like man Spider out when you watched this?
I was fully expecting a man spider situation, if I'm being honest. Am I mute? No, not mute. Sorry, I saw the mute sign pop up there. Apologies. Um,
No.
I was like, yeah, I was expecting a man spider situation. I was also expecting Nightmare to be the villain here. I think
Mm,
from the trailers with the body hopping,
yeah,
it didn't lean to any other character other than Nightmare to me for some reason.
interesting.
Um, so I was surprised at who the villain actually is. So yeah, I feel like the 90s cartoon, I was definitely expecting a few more elements to be like
Yeah.
included and be weaved in. But I feel like this is the start. You know, this felt like very much like the first film in the next
Yeah.
trilogy. So I'm curious to see how they weave in more of that cartoon because it did feel like it ripped elements from it for sure.
Yeah, it did. And I think we've sort of ended up in a really interesting position because like I was just sort of saying, I don't think we're quite done with his ability to mutate and maybe he will lose control of it again, again down the
Mm.
line. Um,
Yeah,
but we've also
I
just set
agree.
up this ridiculous situation now where the Department of Damage Control, who clearly do not like mutants, not that we've sort of given them that name yet, has the technology to inhibit all of their powers. So like the collars that you see in the X-Men cartoon
Uh-huh.
series, that is, inhibitor technology. But in now we're saying in the MCU that the person who's going to have to take responsibility for that technology existing is Peter Parker, which I think is quite an interesting way to take it because now presumably
Yeah.
there's a Charles Xavier somewhere in this world and he's going to learn that this guy who is one of the Avengers and is this hero that's helped save the world from Thanos and potentially Doctor Doom has also invented this technology that helps suppress who his mutant people are. So I wonder whether that's going to become a bit of a political hot potato in the MCU in the future.
Yeah. I can see that. I can definitely see because obviously the collars are a really big thing in like
Yeah,
the X-Men cartoons and stuff. Because obviously what they represent. It'd be
yeah,
interesting to see if this ever leads to like an X-Men versus the Avengers because the Avengers have done all of this stuff and the
yeah,
X-Men are like, what the hell did you do that for? Do you know, like a political difference kind of situation, almost like a Civil War Part Two. I know
yeah.
Civil War Part Two is different, but like that kind of vibe.
There is an X-Men versus Avengers comic series as well, where the two teams do go completely head to head. So that is not out of the
Yeah.
realm of possibility as a storyline that they could want to go down eventually.
And I think it could be an interesting film to see the X-Men against the Avengers, especially depending on who the Avengers lineup is. I think it could make for a really interesting film, like politically, like and the things they could tap into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
absolutely.
agree.
So one thing that I've always found really interesting is the kind of the terms of the Sony Marvel deal, which is that he's basically never allowed to be on his own in a film. There always has to be some kind of connection to the MCU, which is why we had Tony Stark in the first one. Then we obviously had Nick Fury anchoring the second one, and Doctor Strange in the third one. So I was really wondering where they were going to go with this one and who they could pair him with, particularly given the tone of the film being quite different. Um, so Punisher was really not what I was expecting at all. But then I do know, obviously, Tom Holland and John Bernthal are quite good friends. They're also in the Odyssey together this year. They have history together. So I was intrigued to see how that would work. What did you guys think of his inclusion in this film? Bella, going to come to you first.
Yeah, I thought he was probably one of the stronger parts of the film. I really thought that he filled the space that we were missing with Tom Holland's camaraderie with Ned, or Peter's camaraderie with Ned. So I thought that was a really, again, like from the roster of characters they could have picked, I thought it was a really interesting choice, and we got to see a more comedic side to the Punisher, which I thought was really great. He had really great moments, like when he was talking about how he could make Peter and MJ chili, and then Peter was like, "Don't eat that chili." That
So
was really
funny.
funny. Yeah, that was really great. So he had a lot of really interesting moments, and I think I also think he kind of felt like a bit of like a dad or an uncle to Peter, which was
Yeah,
like
he
a really
did.
nice influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he was sort of saying like, you really like her, don't you? And Peter's like, no, what are you talking about? Like he knew just from spending that short amount of time together that he did really love her. So yeah, I thought it was a much needed presence in the film as well because I think it elevated it from just being really drab and depressing, and I think it also gave because I know like the Punisher as a character is quite a dark, serious character. I think it kind of
Yeah.
weirdly gave Peter the
Mm.
space to kind of take those characteristics on. So yeah, I think he was probably like a standout for me. So yeah,
I hadn't seen too much of his Netflix show. I had watched the new special that's on Disney Plus, and I've seen little bits of his show, but I wasn't. I'm only really familiar with his version of the character through when he's been in Daredevil. Um, it was interesting to see him then be this slightly comedic version of him, like him in his PJs when he was doing the whole chili scene and stuff like that. Was really unexpected, and I kind of get the feeling he probably had fun being able to be a slightly different version of that character as well. Michael, what did you think?
I agree with everything you guys just said. I thought he was brilliant. I thought it was really funny and added some uncle, funny uncle vibes to the film that Peter definitely needed. I have seen the first season of the Netflix Punisher show, and what I liked the most about this is from that to this is a really interesting development in his story. Because in the
Mm,
first season
yeah.
of the TV show, he's really dark, serious. He's just lost his family. He's very depressing in it, and he's still very much depressing in it in this film. But you can see that he's got a little bit more life and a bit more personality, and there's a little bit more like energy to him. He's not just dark and depressed. He's got like, he can crack a joke and he can make a chili and he can do all these like cool things where he's not just one note, which I personally really enjoyed. And I think you can tell that the actor Frank that plays him had not Frank, that John, that was a slip up. You can tell that John had a good time playing as Frank. Jesus, that was hard to say.
Just talked yourself into a little rabbit hole there. Just dug yourself in.
Yeah, going to, didn't it? I was like, I just called him Frank. He isn't Frank, he's John, but okay. He just did that good of a job,
I mean, he embodies the role that well, and it's difficult to tell the difference between where John ends and Frank begins.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
literally, lines are blurred, you know?
Obviously, we have one major character that we do need to get to, which is the big reveal, the big thing, the big deal of Brand New Day. But I want to talk about the Department of Damage Control first because they're such a major part of the story. Um, Now, they have been in multiple MCU projects, which I do think goes all the way back to Homecoming. I think they were the group that we saw that were collecting all of the Chitauri tech that was left behind after the Battle of New York. But then, speaking more recently, they're a major part of Wonder Man, which I'm not even talking about the fact that they went and decided to cancel that. I would love to know what the decision behind that was after announcing a season two, especially when it's also
Mm.
Destin Daniel Cretton. So you have him out doing a press tour talking about how excited he is for season two,
Yeah.
making what is going to be probably the second highest grossing movie of all time, and you just go and cancel his show. Story for another day. Um, but they're also in Miss Marvel. They're in a bunch of other projects. And one thing
Mm.
that did kind of bother me is how a different character has been in charge of the company every time we've seen them. And
Yeah.
I just don't quite get why they haven't been built up a bit more robustly as a potential threat given where they are in this film. So I found that a little bit weird and a little bit annoying because I was as much as like um Metzger is a really great character in this film for the purpose of what he's doing and how it impacts on the characters in this film. I was just like, oh, it's the Department of Damage Control again. Fair enough. But
Yeah.
somebody else in charge again. And I kind of wonder whether you have an angle whereby he was in charge of New York, whereas, Wonder Man is set in Hollywood and LA, and the character that we saw there could have been in charge of, the West Coast version rather than what we've got on the East
Mm.
Coast. I don't know. I don't understand enough about the structure of them and how they are in this universe to know whether we're just seeing random characters in every film or every project, or whether there's something. I don't know. I don't know, but it bothered me. What do you guys think about Damage Control in this and their role in this? Bella, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah, I think it was an interesting one because yeah, I think we've mentioned that they've sort of their influence has spread across multiple films. So maybe that their thinking as they kind of build it as like a looming threat, especially as like if they bring the X-Men into Marvel's future a bit
Yeah.
more, then they can build them up as a really big threat like they're starting to. Um, yeah, I think like it's interesting because I can understand why it would like I can understand it being really annoying that it's sort of a different figurehead each time, but maybe it's sort of like that, yeah, like that Hydra thing. Like you can cut off one head and then two more can take its place.
That's a
Like
very good point.
there's like more
Mm.
people who are behind the scenes working and happy to take over. So it's sort of this like ever growing community of people that are trying to take down anyone who's slightly different. So I think it was an interesting one, and I can't remember the name of the actor again.
I'm going to
But
find it. Don't worry.
thank you. Um,
Tramel Tillman.
that's it, Tremel Tillman. Yeah, I knew he was going to be evil because he plays such an evil character in Succession, or a morally grey character in Succession.
Yeah.
So I kind of, the moment I saw him, I kind of figured that he was going to have some sort of evil involvement.
It
I
is
kind of,
funny when you watch a
yeah,
film and you're like, okay, this is a good guy, but I know he plays a good bad guy. He's going to be a
yeah,
bad guy.
exactly. That was the exact same experience I went through from the moment I saw him. I was like, I know they're going to do a little bait and switch. So
Hmm.
yeah, I thought they were. again, I think like there were so many things going on in this film, and as we've kind of touched on, so many things kind of dipped in and out of focus.
Yeah.
So I kind of wish it was like a more looming presence, because we sort of bounce around between the different like buildings that they own, but I kind of wish it was more of like, I don't know, maybe we saw his character more. I think there was just a lot of things to bounce around between.
Yeah, I do like the subtlety of when they give away to anybody that's not figured it out that there is something a little shadier going on with him. To the fact
Mm.
that it's that he claims to remember what he was thinking about while he was being possessed by Jean, and that
Yeah,
that was, a colleague of his that had passed away that he was thinking about, and that it's then MJ saying that she doesn't remember a thing, and that it is just literally like a jump in time for the person that's been taken over. That is the way that it gives it away. I like that subtlety, but yeah.
Mm.
I just I I just feel like you need an Amanda Waller or a I don't know why I was about to say Dick Grayson. That no, a Nick Fury that's like that person who is in charge of that group that is
Mm.
the like the point of familiarity between different projects that you're just like, okay, I know they were introduced as a good guy back here, but I've seen that they've had some slightly shadier motivations and now it's come to fruition in this film and that's why we need to take them out. But the fact that he
yeah,
gets away at the end and he could come back in the future, I guess, means that maybe they are planning that with his version. Maybe Metzger is somebody who is going to be a recurring threat for a little while through the X-Men. We shall have to wait and see. Michael, what did you think of Damage Control and their place in this one?
Completely agree with everything that you guys have just said. I think the kind of branding's off, I guess. I think they need something to suggest, whenever they pop up, they need like maybe a bit of a logo or like an outfit or just something that when we see them, we
It's
go,
a really good
oh, do you know
point.
yeah,
what I
I
mean? Just
completely
like some
agree.
kind of signal to be like,
Yeah,
that's who they are. Because obviously, when in the film, they've got like these huge bunkers and insane tech, and obviously they were a part of the government, but not really. Like they're kind of doing some shady stuff. So I don't know if they need a figurehead so much as they just
some
maybe just a
branding.
little
They
bit
need a
like
branding exercise.
they need a branding manager to go in there and just be like, right, we need some colors, guys. We need a logo, just something,
I think that's a really good idea.
in the comics and stuff, AIM, which is
Yeah.
obviously a really big organization, they've all got yellow. Maybe they need to take some inspiration from that and like have everyone being like a color or something.
Their prison that becomes the focal point of the finale of Wonder Man is quite a distinctive building as well, which
Hmm.
I guess maybe when you're in New York, why am I saying this? I was about to say, I guess when you're in New York, you kind of haven't got much choice unless you build your own building, but this is also a comic book movie. They can do whatever they want. Um,
Yeah.
in my head, I'm like, well, you're going to have to build something, like buy something that already exists. So you're probably going to buy a warehouse. It's going to be very like, no, you can build whatever you want. Avengers Tower exists. Um,
Yeah.
okay, well, that leads us to Sadie Sink and her
Mm.
top secret role, which I think is going to be a good transition point from kind of story into performances because we can touch on both with her. She is Jean Grey. There's no escaping it. She is a founding member of the X-Men. This is the first one that we're seeing in the MCU this is the first one that we're seeing as the Earth 616 version of this character. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. Where do you want to go with this one? Did you know about it going in? We've kind of, I guess we've sort of touched on it already. I knew about it. What did we think of Sadie Sink, Michael?
Obsessed. Obsessed. I feel like it's no surprise, but I was obsessed. I was just blown away, I
Yeah,
guess. I kind of assumed she would be Jean just based on, like the things that we've kind of seen in the trailers, like the yellow
redhead.
hood and stuff and the red. There's only a limited amount of characters she can be, I guess. But yeah, I was obsessed. I thought she out 11.
She
I did
absolutely did. Yes,
I
she.
did look
Yeah,
at my boyfriend and go, she just said to 11, hold my Eggo waffles, bitch, and just like, this is how we're gonna do it. Um, it was brilliant. I
it's funny how many
genuinely thought,
people have said that as well.
yeah, do you think she's like watched Millie Bobby Brown do it and she's like, I'd maybe do it this way? And then when the time
Have you?
came,
Maybe.
she's like, here we go.
There's a meme. I should send it to you. There's somebody sent it to me last night. Actually, it was Matt sent it to me last night. Um, someone's taken that shot from where they're all doing their table
For the
read of
crying.
the final script.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they're like Millie Bobby Brown is sobbing, and somebody's put over the top like when you know your next job's in the MCU, and then it just pans over to Sadie Sink who sat there and she's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like,
saw that.
got this.
oh, so
Yeah,
funny.
no,
She really did though, yeah.
I was obsessed. What I really loved is my brain, the minute she popped up on the screen, I could just see the next 10 to 15 years of where we could go with this person in this role.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jean Grey is a really pivotal character in all versions of the X-Men, especially when you weave in Phoenix, Dark Phoenix, and having someone like Sadie Sink in that role, because she is such a talented actor. She has some of the best scenes in Stranger Things, and I just think she's brilliant. Um, yeah, I just felt immediately confident in the X-Men or the MCU's version of the X-Men.
I know how much you love this character and the X-Men,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm going to presume that you had a similar reaction to me in this moment. But when I was watching it for the first time, and she's in the damage control bunker, and they're forcing her to do the jump thing, and her
Mm-hmm.
powers kind of level up, and she finally has that moment where like everything around her is going all wavy, and the guy that's
Mm-hmm.
with Metzger sort of says she's now affecting every single like item in the room and stuff. I was looking for any form of like flicker of fire, just anywhere, be it
Yeah,
like in her eyes or in her power, like anywhere there would have been a flicker, I would have just been like, okay, you're
yeah.
already hinting at like that.
Yes. Do you know what I thought they were going to do on the screen when it was flashing? I really thought it was going to say Omega level threat. I really thought that's what they were going to do, but it
Yes.
didn't. And I really thought that's where we were going. I thought it was going to flash and be like Omega level threat, Omega level threat, but
Yes.
yeah, we never got it.
Because
But
I think there is on the screen readout, it keeps jumping back to of her brain scans. I think there was like levels or something on there. There was
yeah,
something where I did the same thing where I was like, yeah, are we going to classify her as an Omega level threat?
and I did question, like, as you see the brain mapping, I was like, if they do an outline of like a phoenix in the brain scan, I'm
Oh,
gonna
can you
lose my
imagine?
mind. And they never did it, and I kind of wish they did because it would have just been a really cool little nod. Because not everyone would have got it, but if you know,
No.
you know.
I
So
do wonder if the less than stellar history of live action interpretations of that story might make them slightly cautious to ever touch on it again.
yeah, I think what I appreciated is we kind of got to see Jean more as a telepath instead of
Yes.
just going straight into the Phoenix and the Phoenix Force,
Yeah.
because that is one version of Jean, but obviously what we're seeing in like X-Men 97
There's so
currently,
much more.
there's so much more to her character and what she can do. Like she's one of the most powerful telepaths up there. So yeah, it's cool to see that being explored. And what I also found funny, just on my final little rant of Jean Grey, is if I had a nickel for every time a redhead telekinetic woman in the MCU messed with the Hulk, I'd have two nickels because Wanda and Jean, and I find that hilarious.
Okay, okay. And am I right in thinking Wanda's an Omega level threat as well, is she not?
I think she's when she's the Scarlet Witch. It depends if we're talking just Wanda or Wanda as Scarlet Witch. As the Scarlet Witch, she's like the threat. Her and like Phoenix are like the craziest level threats. So
Yeah.
I think so. Her and Storm as well. Storm's an Omega level threat for sure.
Clearly, we've done away with the idea that Scarlet Witch. I think a lot of people were expecting that she would sort of accidentally invent mutants, almost as a like reflection of when she removed
No
them from the
more.
comics.
Yeah.
Bella, what
I
did you? Oh, sorry. God.
no, I completely agree. Sorry. Bella, you go.
Yeah,
I'll be here
Bella.
all week. You
What did
go.
you think of Jean and Sadie in this film?
No, I appreciate hearing your love. It's really nice. No, I mean like yeah, I'm coming from a different position with the law. But no,
Love that.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I think we all kind of the world kind of had it spoiled for them. With Steve Lacy on that red carpet being like,
Mhm.
guys,
I
I'm so
can't believe
excited.
that. Like two
Yeah,
years of keeping the secret for those who are not kind of in the general audience or seeing,
yeah.
nerds talking about it
Yeah.
online. To have him
It's
just say it on a red carpet is mad.
it was really shocking. But I think like hopefully it doesn't spoil it for most people because I think like as in spoil the reveal because I think the hype that they've generated for so long I think really paid off when I watched
Yeah.
this film. And I just thought in general like the way that they displayed like because it must be very important to them to kind of display this like new reincarnation of this hero so or this character
Mhm.
sorry. So it probably felt like a lot of pressure but I think that the way they did her story like it did two really great things like it showed her power but it also really humanized her in like sort of comparisons to Peter which I
Yeah.
thought was really really great and I think like we've already kind of said like at the end she really demonstrates the like a great level of her power and I keep thinking like if we see her in something like Doomsday or Secret Wars like how is that gonna grow even more that would be really interesting but yeah, I really enjoyed how they did both. Like, yeah, they showed her powers. They kind of built her up as this quite almost like a vigilante. She's kind of just running around doing
Mm.
things.
Hmm.
Where was
You know,
she
and she's
going on the bus at the end?
yeah, exactly. And when she was in Peter's apartment going through all his stuff, I was like, oh, this is very sinister. And the actual nature of her power at the beginning to switch between people, like all I kept thinking about how good a job all those little extra actors did, really conveying all
Yeah.
of this sinister, almost like horror level possession. That was really interesting because I know sort of Mark Kermode made the reference like The Exorcist 3, which I thought was like, I mean, he always does that, but I was like, I totally see it. It brought such a sinisterness
Yeah, it
to
did.
it, but I really loved like the relationship with her sister. Like, me and my sister were like, oh my god, that's so ours, which we found really funny. But yeah, no, it was like it
Mhm.
was really nice because it I think it reintroduced her in a really interesting way. And I think Sadie Sink did an amazing job. She totally did just like reheat Millie Bobby Brown's fries, but like in such a good way.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I totally agree with you guys, and I'm like really enjoying Michael's enthusiasm. That's making me like even more excited to see her down the line for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a brilliant character. It wasn't even like a reheating of the natural. She almost like brought in fajitas, like hot
Yeah,
pot.
yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly,
completely different.
exactly. That's what I mean. She added some spice onto it. She took it and added spice, which I think was
Yeah.
needed. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I love
We
it.
can't talk about performances without talking about Tom Holland, obviously, and I do want to touch on other favorites, but we need to talk about Tom first. And my kind of overriding sort of headline view on that is how so many people, I feel like for weeks, all we've sort of seen is people saying the Odyssey is going to be Tom Holland's moment to prove who he is as an actor. Everyone's going to be watching the Odyssey. You've got to watch the Odyssey to show Tom Holland break out of that mold, and he is good in it. He is, there's no arguing that he is good in the Odyssey. But I think that actually people should be looking at this film as his best performance in any movie to date because he is, he's all of the things that Peter Parker was in the previous trilogy, and yet has such a devastating sense of loneliness and isolation and all of those things
Mm.
that the character's going through in this film. I feel like he embodies it all perfectly. So this really to me is absolutely his like career defining moment right now. And I'm glad that they gave him that opportunity to play a more mature version of him rather than continuing to force him to be that young, bouncy, exuberant teenage version because he is a 30-year-old man now. He needs to be able to play something that feels a bit more real to who he is as a person. So what were your
Mm.
guys' thoughts on Tom's performance? Bella?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think this really gave him a chance to like come into his own and really display his skills as an actor. And um, I think sort of that duality between like being a superhero that all these kids have grown up with and all these adults love,
Yeah.
and then also being this really troubled 20-year-old who's lost and doesn't know what to do. I think he really portrayed that incredibly well. Like he had great levels, like he still had these sort of flickering moments of this past like younger innocence that he has, and his. I think the thing that I wrote that article about it, that thing about how I kind of termed him as like the boy who could, right? Because he goes through all of these struggles and he comes back each time and he shows all these people that you can come through all of these different struggles and keep going, but we see him like almost numb to his life and numb to his surroundings because he's living this sort of looping existence. And I think yeah, like I think for a lot of people it will touch on so many other people's lives, and I think that's why people will really connect with it, and that's literally due to his like absolutely incredible performance. It was so nuanced, very special, and I think we've seen all these different versions where like even though he's been beaten down, he's still so positive and upbeat. So I think it was
Yeah.
really important that we got to see Spider-Man at a point where he almost was like on the verge of giving up and giving in, and only and completely neglecting the Peter Parker part of his identity to just
Yeah.
only throw himself into the work. So I thought it was, like you said, I think it was one of his best performances, at the very least in the Spider-Man series he's been in, but at the most in his career.
Yeah.
And I think it's incredible that he's 30 and he can still really really accurately portray someone so much younger. I think that was really
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think he was the reason why this film succeeded to the degree that it did, because it can't have been easy. New director, completely new tone, coming off the back of an incredible cliffhanger. So they had a lot to prove, but I think it really does rest on him with the success of this film, especially the emotional element for sure.
I would like to know how he was managing to afford a industrial sized 3D printer and all of that computer technology, but
It was definitely Aunt May's life insurance. I'm just saying.
100%.
But then no one's supposed to know who he is. So I was like, how did he claim it when no one knows who he is?
That's a good point.
Yeah. Do we think Tony maybe left him some money in the will?
Maybe.
Yeah, because Tony would
That
never have been able to have forgotten because he was already dead before it happened. So surely you can't completely retcon history for
Maybe he got
someone
into
who's,
like
yeah,
maybe he got into like selling like little autograph pictures of himself out to people on the street or something.
yeah,
that also works. Michael,
love it.
thoughts on
I,
Tom's performance?
just echoing everything you guys have said, really. I think it is definitely his best performance to date. I love how the film really taps into like grief and identity, and it's really gritty and it's a really different side of Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And the character has a lot more to do in that like acting department. Like he's really got a lot of different avenues to go down. It's not that like happy-go-lucky, peppy one-note vibe. He's really got a lot of different things to tap into as an actor, and it really pays off, and it's really interesting to watch. And I think Tom Holland does a really brilliant job. And yeah, definitely my favorite performance of his to date.
Mm. So, other favorites in this film, because I want to make sure that we highlight some of our other favorites as well. For me, it has to be Liza from The Bear, Liza Colon-Zayas. I know I've already sung her praises in this, but I just, I knew she was in it, but
Mm-hmm.
her role and her connection, even though she doesn't ever share the screen with Peter Parker, her connection with him is incredible. I love it. I love
Mm,
that he has someone who he can connect with and how random it just is because it's so unexpected. So I
yeah,
just
Mm-hmm.
loved her performance and I really, really, I just like to pray to all of the Marvel gods that they bring her back for more because I think
absolutely.
he needs he still doesn't necessarily have quite the connection back with Ned and MJ as it was in the previous trilogy. And it worked for me on absolutely all levels. So she is my other standout performance. Michael, any others that you want to highlight?
Zendaya. I feel like Zendaya really blew me away in this film. Specifically, there's two scenes that really like stood out. The one where she's on the rooftop and she's been
Such
possessed
a
by
good
Jean
scene.
Grey.
Yeah,
It really blew me away because she's playing two characters in one, and she doesn't have any fancy like VFX or outfits or like anything in the scene to really help her sell that. It really relies on Zendaya's just facial acting ability and like the way she carries herself in the body. And that switch when she goes from being MJ to being Sadie Sink Jean Grey in MJ is
yeah.
so brilliant. It really is a testament to her acting. And then the other one that I would shout out is when Jean freezes everybody and Zendaya, MJ, and Ned are frozen in their apartment. She just has a single tear go down the face, and it's truly just incredible, like A grade acting, in my opinion. It truly blew me away. So MJ Zendaya is definitely getting all of the praise from me today.
In that rooftop moment,
Mm.
was there a moment where you thought it was her genuinely remembering, or from the second she starts to show that memory, were you like, oh no, it's JG, she's in.
She's in. See, this is what I think so brilliant about it is when I was watching it, I was like, is it MJ or is it Jean? And it walks the line right up until the point of the reveal, in my opinion. I think she does such a good job of is it not? Like there's no clear indicator until it's too late and it's oh
Yeah.
shit, no, that's Jean, what are we doing? And then the way she dives off the building, like kind of almost laughing, falling backwards, is
Mm,
so brilliant. But yeah, I think she does a good job at really walking that line.
yeah.
Do you know what? Okay, Bella, I'm coming to you in a second. But I never did tell you what the other fake spoiler was that I had that didn't
Oh
come to
yeah.
fruition.
Yeah, go
So
on.
Yeah,
one of them
yeah.
was the VMAX thing that this scooper was absolutely convinced was this Venom compound. So the other
Yes.
one was that Peter dies in this film.
Oh wow.
So
Oh my
apparently,
gosh.
I don't know for sure because I haven't been able to verify this. I don't know if it was ever shown at a test screening and they changed it,
Mm,
or if it is purely a rumor. But essentially, there was a very, very strong rumor for a very long time that he was going to die in this film.
oh
And
my
that the
gosh.
reason for that is so that when he then crops up very, very briefly in Doomsday, which he's not announced to be in, we'd
Yeah.
all be like, whoa, what did Doom then do to
Oh my
him?
god.
Um,
Okay.
Oh.
so I don't know if plans changed or what. But
Yeah.
then that was really backed up for me by all those weird rumors about Zendaya on the press tour because she wore black constantly.
Oh my God.
Apart from, and I'm going to get this wrong, and I really apologize, I'm not being culturally insensitive. She wore white in one country where locally white is what you would wear at kind of funerals.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
So there's what I can't remember if it was the UK, but one of them she's even wearing a veil. Like she's
Mm.
got like a headpiece that's kind of like a veil. So she's been wearing black the whole thing. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
all these people have been talking about how they feel like they were convinced MJ was going to die and that that was her mourning the loss of this character through the
Yeah.
press
Okay.
tour and being like, hee hee, you don't know.
Oh my
And I've
God.
spent the whole press tour going, hee hee, actually, I know that it's because Peter's going to die. So then when he gets shot, I was like, it's happening. He's actually going to die. He's going to die right now. Like he's literally going to die right now. But in that rooftop moment when she dropped off the rooftop,
Oh,
for a
I was gonna
split
say
second,
that.
I was like, oh God, MJ's dead.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, anyway, Bella,
Yeah.
other
No.
performances that you would like to shout out in this film?
Well, firstly, like I completely agree with you because I read like an article with Tom Holland saying like they'd made a version that the fans wanted, but it just wasn't the vision. So
Yeah,
maybe it was something they wanted an Andrew Garfield moment again, maybe.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, that web's going to catch her and she's just going to go,
yeah, literally, I didn't
boom.
want to see it again. I was not ready. Um, but yeah, no, I think I agree with with everything that everyone has said. I think Zendaya was an absolute standout. Another moment that I think was brilliant was when she has to tell Peter that she doesn't love him because this isn't
Yes,
that
so
she
heartbreaking.
doesn't know him at all.
Yeah.
That really
Mhm.
hurt, and I just kept thinking like, God, they're like together. Could you imagine having to tell that to your partner? Like I couldn't do that.
No.
So that was incredible acting. But like the moments we've already said, like on the rooftop. Um, I mean, there's a lot of others. I don't want to just list everyone, but I
Yeah.
was thinking about it more. I think we've already touched on John Bernthal, so I won't go into that again. But the little scene that Marissa Tomei has, where she comes back as Aunt May, was really special. Like that speech that she
Mhm.
has, really, that was the only part that I actually cried. Was that speech? It really got to me. It was really beautiful.
I
And the
love
fact
that they
she's
found a way to bring her back.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. And I thought the fact that she was also saying it to like Jean in that like moment was really beautiful because
Yes,
it really harmonized the two of them, like
it
Peter
did.
and Jean.
Yeah.
But actually, I was thinking about this more. I think the other person I really want to shout out, even though it was really brief and needed way more time, was was Bruce Banner again. Like I
Mark
think,
Ruffalo.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Like that scene where he's sort of like bent over, like holding the table, being like,
I
it's
know.
gonna happen. Like
Yeah.
I think it really speaks to that whole theme of like the sort of mental health side of it, which I thought was really special. Like I don't think we've really seen him in that light. He was so weakened and vulnerable. And like I think that moment where he was like, "Have I hurt anyone?" Like he couldn't stop saying it. He was clearly
Yeah.
he's so traumatized by his experiences, he couldn't stop
Yeah.
saying it. That
Yeah.
was like really emotional for me. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So while I wish he wasn't just sort of like a side character in the story,
Yeah.
the parts that he did was like really served the overall themes of the story.
Yeah.
And I think that moment again really grouped all of these people as like who are the other in a really special way, because I think it also showed Peter that he wasn't alone.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
That other people have to do this to feel normal. So yeah, I thought Mark Ruffalo really stood out in this film too. I think again, like so many people did. Like I think everyone really shone in their own light, really well. But yeah, I think I go back to Marissa Tomei a lot because that scene I definitely am going to when I rewatch it, I'm definitely going to be looking forward to that scene, getting emotional all over again.
Yeah.
So
It was one
Yeah.
of them moments where it was like, oh, that's like an Oscar, like obviously she's an Oscar winner, and it was like, yeah, you can see the
oh,
level of
100%.
creative actor that is. She came in and just blew the roof off. It was brilliant.
100%.
Got a cat trying to jump out the window.
Oh no.
Like, please don't do that while I'm recording. Um, yeah, I had because No Way Home was 2019, right? No, 2021. 2021.
Yeah.
Um, that was what only 3 years after my mum passed away. So the scene with Marissa Tomei when she is injured and she dies in that film is it hits really really hard for me, and it did first time I watched it. So I love that felt
Yeah.
weirdly like I could really identify with that weirdness of having a conversation with someone who is gone in your in
Yeah.
just in your mind. I identify with that quite
Mm.
strongly. So that meant a lot having that moment. So I'm so glad that they did it. And I feel like that's probably Tom Holland in a way saying there's absolutely no way that we could make a story about this character without her having
Yeah.
some sort of place in it somewhere. Like I don't
Yeah.
I like genuinely if they make another one, I'm not expecting her to come back for another in his head moment. But it just I think they will probably always find a way to have Aunt May's voice in there, which I think is
Mm.
incredible. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that you just brought up Mark Ruffalo as well, because I do think he needs shouting out for this film just because I think it's easy to forget that he never had his movie. He hasn't had one. You know, he wasn't the Hulk in the Incredible Hulk film.
Mm.
So we've only ever seen Ruffalo doing the Avengers moments or those small moments that he's had in other films. So
Yeah.
this was him being the most Hulk I think he's ever actually had the chance to be when he's been in
Yeah.
that role, which is it's got to have been nice for him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
And that, I think, leads us into an area that I think, Bella, you've already touched on, which is kind of cinematography, visual effects, stunts,
Hmm.
action sequences, which I'm excited to get into as well, because I think there's a lot going on here. And I think this is probably the best looking, particularly of these Spider-Man films. There was quite a lot of good web slinging action, I think, in Tobey
Hmm.
Maguire's movies, and Andrew Garfield had some exciting moments, but I think this is probably the best looking Spider-Man film that they've made.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really just felt like when he was swinging around, I just felt like I was with him. It was crazy.
It's the mix of
Um,
shots, isn't it? It's the fact that you get
yeah,
the standard like here he is swinging through the buildings, but then going inside the mask and seeing his face, or then doing full on like POV stuff. The mix of
yeah,
different types of shots just really makes it.
yeah, I completely agree. And there were so many like standalone, really well choreographed moments. I know it's sort of like Shang-Chi was also incredibly well choreographed, so I think that
Yeah,
bled over.
exactly.
And
It's
I
his
think
thing.
that, yeah, that focus on it was really important. Because it like I love that like yeah I said this to my sister each time there was sort of an action piece he would sort of go like here we go and then he'd just
Mhm.
seamlessly pull together an incredible moment. I think about the I don't know their like name but the ninjas when
The
they did that
hand.
little that was it yeah the hand that was a really incredible action piece. And then also at the end when the Punisher and Peter are sort of like trying to stop the Hulk. That there's that moment where they've sort of I can't remember exactly what's happened, but he's shooting him and he's sort of swinging him along and he's shooting bit by bit, and it was
There was
slow
a
mo.
massive cheer for that
Yeah.
moment at the press
Yeah,
screening.
yeah,
That
yeah,
that slow-mo when Hulk's like going across the top of the frame and like Punisher's just underneath. Yeah.
yeah. That was incredible. That was one of my favorite. I really went, wow, this is incredibly well done.
Mm.
But yeah, it just looked really, really great. Like there was a couple moments where I had to sort of pull myself back out of my seat and be like, I'm sitting here watching the film. I'm not in there with him. But it really does. I feel
You
like you
feel
really
like
feel
it.
like you feel like you've been taken on along for the ride for sure. So I thought it really succeeded in that element for sure.
I think a lot of those slow-mo moments were where they were homaging moments in the comics as well. So, like the
Yes.
very,
Mm.
very first one when he's got the guy under his arm is a very, very famous comic book cover. So, I need to go and see if there's an actual like Hulk, Spidey, Punisher moment that was homaging as well.
Yeah.
Because that was just, yeah, it was so good. Visual effects in this one are interesting because I didn't really have any huge moments that took me out of it apart from one. Weirdly, I feel like all of the fight sequences worked really, really well. All of the web slinging sequences. I did feel like the hand was kind of pointless in terms of story for being there, but they did make for
Mm.
that incredible fight sequence that just like no other group in the MCU could have done that sequence other than them. The one that
Yeah.
actually took me out, and I'm interested to see if you guys noticed this, because my other half didn't really sort of pick up on it, and I felt like I was sort of forcing him to have to pick up on it because during the scene I was just like, I really don't like this. Is actually the scene in the park with Jean and her sister?
Mm.
So, like, tell me I'm completely nuts if neither of you spotted this, but the shots where they're on the bench together, they are
Mm.
green screened in on that background. Like they are on a bench somewhere else. That background is totally different. And then when her sister gets up to go get ice cream, there's a shot from behind the bench with completely different hair for Sadie Sink. You
Oh my
can't see her
gosh.
face. It's a lighter shade of red and it's not as curly because she has quite different hair to how she has in the rest of the film. It's quite like natural and normal. But
Mhm.
the shot from behind the bench is completely different hair. So then the DOD arrive, and the sister gets tranked in the neck and she drops to the ground. And you're going to tell me I'm being really pedantic, but just bear with me. She drops to the ground, and Jean's watching from afar. Now, when the sister drops to the ground, it's not massively sunny. It's almost, you can't quite see the sky, but it feels slightly darker. And the ground that she lands on has really, really dark grass. And then it cuts over to Jean, and Jean's somewhere much sunnier, and it's like a really light shade of grass, like completely different.
Mm,
Then from another angle, Jean is suddenly in somewhere with like grey sky. And so the whole scene, I'm like, well, hang on a minute. Okay, did they not film this outside because they didn't want people to see Sadie Sink? So maybe they shot it in a studio and did the stuff with the sister outside so that people weren't seeing it and putting two and two together, maybe.
mm,
For some reason, that whole, like, the substance of the scene, no issue with whatsoever. Like the conversation between them is beautiful, and like the act of what happens with the sister and how that sets up who Jean is, no issue with that whatsoever. It feels to me like they cobbled together a bunch of different stuff to make that
mm.
scene, and I'm going to presume that neither of you noticed any of it, and I'm completely.
No, but like now I really want to rewatch it. I really because I know now that you've highlighted that when I watch it, I'm totally gonna see it because I think
Yeah.
shonky green screen is like the most offensive thing. I'm
Yes,
surprised I didn't notice it. I'm not gonna lie because
thank you.
I totally believe you.
Yeah,
There's
me too.
it's just like you can see it around the, when hair gives it away because there's just like a
Mm.
softness. You
Yes.
just if and when you rewatch it, just look at that scene for me and make me feel less like a complete weirdo for being like, so there's all this stuff where he's web slinging and that's perfect, but this one scene of a girl on a bench is really badly done.
Yeah, I can't say I noticed, if I'm being honest. I could tell it was green screen. I can definitely, like, when they start talking, I was like, that background is not real. Like, they are
Mm.
not, they are not there. But I could kind of forgive that. I was like, that's fine. But I'd not picked up on the lighting. But I know I will when I see it again.
I do have to say on the first watch I only really spotted the green screen. On the second watch I was just like, well, this is so wrong.
Yeah.
I wonder whether something else happened and they decided to change the construct of it and so reshot certain bits of it. But I could also understand that maybe they were hiding Sadie Sink because I don't think she was in many set photos.
No.
No.
So I wonder whether she was hidden for a lot of the production just to try and hide who she
Yeah.
was.
That would make so much
Maybe.
sense to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
In terms of like visual effects, was there anything that you guys had spotted that you thought didn't work as well, or were you completely sold on the whole thing?
I think there were a couple moments like early on where it looked a little I can't describe it well, but it looks too smooth. I think
Okay.
there was some early scenes I think with the Punisher in the first sequence that looked a little bit like that doesn't look believable. But like for the most part I was really impressed because I just think about how far we've come from there's that scene I can't remember which Spider-Man film with Tobey Maguire it is, but there's that one where MJ is just holding on to like a model, and I just keep thinking about how far we've come from that because we really have
Yeah.
come incredibly far. I don't know. Yeah, so I think for the most part it was pretty good, but I've got to keep an eye on that scene now because I just know I'll see it now that you pointed it out to me.
My Spider-Man ranking, I have Spider-Man 2, the Tobey Maguire one, really low, and people always say
Mm.
to me like that's sacrilege because that film's incredible. But and obviously I am old enough that I saw it at the cinema when it came out. Um, but I was just always bothered by the visual effects because I think the first one with Maguire is really practical
That's
and
so
they do as much
interesting.
as they can like in camera, and which is what I love about this one because I feel like we've come full circle and this one does a lot of practical stuff.
Hmm.
But some of the because it was so early days and using big scale visual effects, some of that stuff with Doc Ock, I'm just like, it just looks too much like a video game to me that it took me out even as a teenager.
That's kind of
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of crazy to me because I think Michael, I don't know how you feel about it, but like I think for me, so many people I've read so many reviews where people have said this is like the best like live action Spider-Man film, and I have to hold the flag for I was going to say Far From Home. I'm not going to say that again. I'm championing it, but I think Spider-Man 1 and 2 with Tobey Maguire, 3 just because it's absolutely bonkers, but specifically 1 and 2. I've seen 1 so many times, but
Yeah.
I think they
Yeah.
really I think Sam Raimi's direction really holds up after all this time. I can completely concede on the visual effects because they did
Yeah.
look very PlayStation
Yeah.
1 video game moment. But
Yeah.
I think for the most part, I think this film will 100% hold up, and it holds up as an incredible testament to Tom Holland's like acting ability, but also his like Peter Parker's evolution. But I think Spider-Man 2 still takes it for me. I don't know how you feel, Michael, but yeah.
A really good question. I think Spider-Man 2 is definitely up there in terms of like iconicness. Like Doc Ock is definitely one of the most like incredible villains in Spider-Man is
Yeah.
entirely Foster. But
Yeah.
yeah, the VFX are definitely like, and the CGI and all that kind of stuff is definitely definitely of its time, we shall say.
Yeah.
I
Specifically
know
like
how
when
it
he's
feels.
scaling the building. Um, but yeah, I'd have to go back and rewatch it because it's been a minute. In terms of this film,
Mm.
so Brand New Day, if I'm being completely honest, I've become so blind to Marvel's just entire volume, green screen, just entire
Yeah.
all of it. I think I've just become so used to it that I kind of just block it out unless something is astronomically bad. Ant-Man Quantumania. I don't
The
particularly. I
entire of
don't.
that film.
Yeah, literally start to finish. Um, yeah, I don't block it out, but I've kind of become numb to it because I know what we're doing. I know what this is. You know, I'm not expecting. I don't know. I'm not expecting like Christopher Nolan level stuff here. That's
Yeah.
not to say that incredible like shots and sequences and whatnot and all of that good stuff, but yeah, I've kind of become a bit blind to it. Upon second watch, I'm sure I'll be like, well, that scene looks dodgy and whatever. But yeah, I kind of was a bit blind to it, if I'm being honest.
I like that. I think that's quite fair. And it's the only thing that worries me about things like Doomsday and Secret Wars is the fact that you know that not everyone is on set together and that a lot of it is people being pieced together and that
Yeah, that's
I'm like
true.
I
Yeah,
kind of miss that. So but what I love then about this film is how practically they've made this film because I feel like
Mm.
the box office alone at this point, can we point out where it's at some ridiculous
crazy.
at like 300-400 million already and is probably going to
Yeah.
make close to 1 billion in opening weekend.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
heard it.
not like
Yeah.
that is your absolute people love real movies with as much practicality as possible.
Hmm.
I completely agree, and I think I read somewhere that it's like on track to have a bigger opening weekend than not Doomsday,
Endgame.
Endgame, which is
Yep.
incredible. I think
So
Crazy.
I think it's absolutely testament to like how much people can have as much Marvel fatigue as they want, but Spider-Man is always the like connecting factor. Like people will always come back for Spider-Man because they know it's a reliable experience.
yeah.
They
Mm,
know it's a great character. They know Tom Holland's a great actor. They know that his relationship with Zendaya will draw like it draws people in, obviously. So I
yeah,
think like for so many reasons people will always come back, and like when I wrote that article I was so shocked by like the box office statistics that were always consistently, it's like one of the highest performing films every single year it came out, one of the
Yeah.
highest performing films of all time. Like
crazy.
it's incredible. So I think it is testament to just how much people love the character and how much, like you said, people love the
Yeah,
practicality of having a bunch of people together in a superhero film.
Yeah. In terms
I
of
think
the
it's yeah,
financials, so Endgame's preview, like Thursday previews, was 64 million, and that was the all-time record. Um, now I'm going to nerd. Their preview
mhm,
screening started at 6 p.m. on the Thursday, whereas Brand New Day started at midday and also includes some special Prime membership screenings that happened, I think, on the Wednesday. So there are more screenings in the Spider-Man preview figure than were in the Endgame. But Spider-Man made 72 million, so broke the record by $8 million. Then
crazy.
Endgame's opening day is, I think it was 100 and oh no, I've lost it.
No,
157.4 million. Um,
Mm.
and Spider-Man's is 168 million.
that's mental.
So that is 10 million, just over 10 million more, which is insane.
Fuck.
So
Yeah.
it basically later today, as we're recording this, we'll find out if it's broken the weekend record. Avengers weekend was 357.1 million. At the
Okay.
moment, Sony thinks that Spider-Man's going to make 320, which is not something to scoff at when you consider No Way Home was 260 something. So we're going to possibly 100 million up on where the last Spider-Man film was. But basically, if it can make more than 357, then it becomes the highest opening weekend of all time. And
That
I
is
will really
crazy.
shock anyone that knows me at this point, where I will say, I think that in the pantheon of superheroes, Spider-Man has now overtaken Batman as probably the most famous, most recognizable.
Yeah, I think I'd agree
That
with
is
you.
that is a big statement coming from you.
I
Just
know.
right now.
Yeah,
Because
I
that's
was gonna
the
say
Yeah.
that.
the way people always look at it is like the most recognizable superheroes in history have always kind of been listed as Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man.
Hmm.
And you kind of have to think, poor Marvel, surely they've got more, like, surely Hulk's fairly recognizable, but there are people that don't necessarily know who he is. But Batman is kind of your, like, has always been the one that it's like everyone knows who Literally everyone knows who Batman is, whether you watch comic like movies or not. But I think Spider-Man has overtaken it now, I think, at this point.
I'd agree. I think just to touch on superhero fatigue a little bit, I think you both mentioned it there. What I find really interesting is this is a topic comes up a lot in this space of like we're all over it, but what I actually think it is, and this film's a really good testament of it, is when a film does a character justice, when they do the character story correctly, people show up. So I
Yeah.
think Brand New Day is just a really good example of a perfect Spider-Man movie. You've got different villains, it's perfect action like sequences, you've got all of the elements you want, and it's not trying to do anything other than that, you know? So yeah, I just found it really interesting hearing you guys talk about it because that to me, like I'm not fatigued. I just like it
No,
when the movies, you
definitely
know,
not.
I just like it when my superhero movies do what I want them to do, which I want a Spider-Man movie to be a Spider-Man movie. I don't need it
Mm.
to be something else. So yeah, I
Yeah,
just found that really interesting.
I saw a really
yeah,
interesting tweet that put something perfectly in perspective. And please bear in mind that I loved this film, but it was so I can't remember who it was, but somebody basically tweeted and said, if you want to look at 2026 and try and understand where it went wrong for Supergirl, Brand New Day is a superhero movie for 2026, and Supergirl is a superhero movie for 2017.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That makes
I
sense.
mean, maybe the
it
year's
does.
not quite right, but it just kind of points out that yes, it's a Supergirl was unfortunately for whatever reason was not maybe what we need from a superhero movie in this year. It was
Yeah,
very classic
Yeah.
sensibilities of what a superhero movie was maybe 10 or so years ago and wasn't as
yeah.
forward thinking enough to do something that would bring an audience in this day and age.
Yeah, I
Agreed.
think what we know as a superhero film has evolved so much over time, and I can't lie,
Yeah.
like my relationship with superhero, specifically Marvel, has been like rocky in recent years. Like I credit them as being some of the films that got me into film when I was like 12, 13 years old, because my dad
Yeah.
put me on like all of the earliest ones when I was younger, and I loved it. And I think there has been like from my point of view, I know the term superhero fatigue is thrown around and used so much. I think it's different for each person, right? Like some people don't have
Yeah.
it at
Mhm.
all, some people do have it. I think for me, like things like DC and Marvel totally compete with each other in my mind of what I prefer. Like the Batman was an incredible viewing experience for me, one of my favorite cinema experiences. Whereas Marvel, over the recent, I'd say just after COVID, I really petered out
Yeah.
after watching some of the TV shows. But I think it is to circle back to Brand New Day. Like there are like I think I agree with Michael. Like when it's done the way that you want it to be, you know, you just want this, you just want Spider-Man. When they actually do that well and they don't overcomplicate it, I think that's just what really hits the nail on the head for people. Because I think this is why I think Doomsday is going to hopefully be a really good idea. Because if we retcon and we scale back the multiverse to a certain degree, I think that will bring people back again. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
just doing the simple as much as they can, like this, really makes it a worthwhile experience for not just Marvel fans but like a generic audience.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think yeah, they're on a good path. I think to bringing people like me back.
I
Yeah.
agree. And I think on Doomsday as well, like there's some very clear expectations that a lot of the audience want. Prime example, the in the trailer they say we're waiting on a miracle, and the entire internet is like, if that miracle is not Wanda Maximoff, don't make the movie. So I'm praying. So I'm kind of hoping that they just listen. I think this film, you can tell that Marvel's listened. So I'm hoping that they continue to listen because at the end of the day, that we're the ones buying the tickets. And if we're going,
Yeah.
I want X, please give us X because then we show up and we love it and we rant and rave about it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple more things I want to talk about with this film before we wrap up. Michael Giacchino, back again, fourth Spider-Man score. I
Yes.
really, really, I've had a chance, I've listened to it a couple of times because the album came out yesterday, Friday, sorry. Um, and I've pre-ordered my vinyl, obviously. Um,
Of course.
he's brought back so many of the themes from the first three, but in so like subtle and different ways. Like the
Yes.
actual theme now being this really somber, like contemplative piano piece rather than being the
Mm.
like big brash like
Yeah.
superhero theme. I love the way he's approached the music in this one. Uh, like your guys' thoughts on it? Did you pick up on it as you were watching the film? Were you hearing those like familiar little motifs and how they were presented differently? What do you think of the music?
I really enjoyed it. I really have to say I picked up on it really felt like the like colliding of everything that we know about Tom Holland's Spider-Man happened in this film, and I think musically that played such a big part.
Yeah.
I think I it sounds silly because I think I was noting it the entire time, but when the end credits started rolling and that really emotional piece of music started playing, I was sitting there like, God, this is like, I can't believe that we've come on such a long journey with this character. Like it really hit home. I also think the needle drops in this film are crazy.
Yeah.
Just to throw that in there,
Yeah.
like Tame Impala and Bad Bunny, I was like, whoa, okay, crazy.
Yeah.
Like they know who to cater it to for sure, but
Yeah.
I also just think it worked. But yeah, I think the score itself was absolutely beautiful. I really love when like composers include past themes and they rework them to really show the maturity or like the
Yeah.
journey that character's gone on. So I think they really absolutely nailed that for
Not a
this
lot of
film.
characters have had that. When you think
No.
about it, even if you go back to like 90s Batman, you had Danny Elfman for the first two,
Yeah.
but then, it moved on after that. There are not a lot of characters who've had a composer. Like Thor has basically had a different composer almost every solo movie.
Yeah.
So we've not, particularly with the MCU, there's not really been a character who's had that musical journey. So it's really cool to be able to see it stretch across that much time, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make. Is it's interesting to have someone like we've got that one character that's had the same composer, and you can really tell that like they're using their past work to kind of evolve with the film and evolve with the
Yeah.
story, which I think is a really interesting thing.
Yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on is that I was going to say something really strong, but I'm not going to, I'm not going no.
Oh, I kind
Was
of want to
that,
know now.
no,
Yeah.
I was just going to say
Tell us.
would be that absolutely dog shit post-credit scene. Um, I
Mm.
really didn't like it.
Ooh.
Okay,
Ooh.
okay. Yeah, that's why before I said it, I thought twice and then thought, no, actually, you need to context this.
This is
Um,
controversial.
I
I
really
agree though.
like, I like the idea, and I feel like someone went, oh, we can bring back this cute callback to this thing from the film. But then my brain went, well, isn't this supposed to be people noting their geolocation and being like, oh, I've just seen Spider-Man? Like, how could anyone have seen him in space?
Yeah, like what is the
Yeah.
range on this insane thing? Like
Yeah.
5G in space?
It's that thing where it's like it's really cute and cartoony and fun, but then when you think
I,
about it a little bit too much, it's like, oh, actually, that's not.
yeah.
What
Ugh.
I yeah. So no, Michael, go for it.
I was my main like issue with this was it would have been an okay teaser had we had a mid and post credit thing. I think we should have
Mhm.
had something. Even if like my suggestion that I said when I left was it would have been cool if we saw like MJ doing something and then she maybe has like a glimmer of she might remember something like a teaser like for the next film or
She was with the
something to
necklace
suggest.
though. The necklace thing did make me think, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, or
and
like
the handshake with Nerd.
And the
Yeah, yeah.
handshake, yeah.
yeah, like just a glimpse of something. But what I found really annoying but interesting about this credit scene was is it suggesting A that there's a different Spider-Man on the board? Like, is that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man? Because there's rumors about Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and what happens in Doomsday, which I won't spoil, but it suggests that maybe it's a different Spider-Man that's
Hmm.
on the board. Um, so yeah, also it felt kind of obvious. Like we know Spider-Man's probably going to be helping out in Doomsday, so yes, he would be in space, which is yeah, it just felt like kind of like a nothing credit scene, you know?
Mm. All right,
Yeah.
Bella, tell us your bit first, and then I have to remember the thing that just
Yeah.
sprung to my mind.
Yeah, I am very different to you guys. I actually really liked it. It's funny because
Love that.
my screening was so quiet, and then this was the only moment that got people really excited, which is
Interesting.
insane. It's so insane. It happened. It says Spider-Man will return,
Yes.
nothing else, and everyone was
Mhm.
clapping and cheering, and I was like, wait. I found it really ominous. Maybe it's because I'm not like as clued up. Like I've been speaking to people who've been talking about Battle World,
Yes.
and I'm like
Yes.
very intrigued by that. But it left. I think weirdly, I'm a very literal thinking person, right? I think it's the autism in my brain. I'm very literal thinking. This was the one time where I was like, you know what? I don't really care if the range is crazy. This is so intriguing. It felt very like not sinister. That's the wrong word. But I
Yeah.
was like, oh, they're cooking on something.
Mm.
And I found that really intriguing because we could take it in so many different ways. Like my sister and I were talking about how the glitches looked kind of weirdly similar to things like in the Spider-Verse films. We were like, we had this huge discussion about when they might transition into Miles Morales being more center stage and
Mm.
maybe live action.
Yep.
So I think it just stirred up so much for me. And yeah, I think the energy in the room as we left really kept me like thinking on it the rest of the day.
So this is my
Yeah.
one thing, yeah, is as much as the logistics of the scene itself make no sense to me whatsoever, which my
Yeah.
rational brain is like, I'm sorry, no. It is a massive talking point because my interpretation in the moment watching it was okay, he's not on Earth anymore. So where is he? Because it's not like another Earth has appeared. That's just a blip in space. But it does
Mm.
lead you to like, okay, has someone taken Tom Holland off Earth and put him on a ship somewhere to keep him safe while the incursion happens? Is it, as you just said, Michael, is it Andrew Garfield or is it Tobey Maguire? I hadn't even considered the Spider-Verse angle. Yet it could even
Mhm.
be a nod to that. Like there are so many different things it can be that it is. You can't deny that it's not a massive talking point, which is interesting.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, like is it in Spider-Verse? Obviously, there's that scene where all of the Spider-Men meet. That
Yeah,
like, is it that? That would be really interesting if it was, because that'd
yeah,
be
Yeah.
really cool. If you saw them flip from live action to animation really quickly, that'd be a really cool little thing. But
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, it's just open to massive interpretation. So we'll just have to see where it leads next.
Yeah, well,
Anything? Yes, I was going to say anything I've missed, but there is one major thing that I realized that we've missed. Yelena,
Oh
incredible.
yeah. How do we not even talk about that this entire time?
love.
That's
Like
I love.
crazy.
genuinely, again, I'm annoyed because Kevin Feige revealed that she was in it literally like a week ago.
That's
Um,
so silly.
I wish I didn't know, but my brain jumped to, well, she's going to be some mid-credit scene that's going to help. Like she's just going to appear like bloodied and be like, "We need your help." So the fact that she
Mhm.
Yeah.
was like little potatoes, was just
I've already seen
Yeah,
everyone referencing that everywhere. That's become such a big thing that people are saying
oh
everywhere.
yeah, brilliant.
yeah.
What did you guys think of her?
What's not to love? I mean,
Yeah.
to me, I think, do you know when you get in the MCU, like you have your Robert Downey Jr.'s and you've got these characters where you come in and it's like that person is just insane. That's one of them roles where we're going to be quoting them, referencing
Hmm.
them forever. This to me, like, Yelena didn't really fight. She just had, like, she was in the pool with like smudged blue eyeliner, just vibing with wet hair. And it was some of the best sequences. It was some of the best dialogue because Florence Pugh is just incredible. She's
Yeah.
She's just
so,
having the best time.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was great. So
I
good.
loved I loved when Ned and MJ saw her on the PC screen at the end, the laptop screen at the end. That was hilarious. I just love how casual she is.
That man has
It's
friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. It was effortless. And again, I think it was just the right amount to really complement the film and complement her actual performance
Yeah,
across like the
effortless is
MCU we've
perfect. That's
seen.
the exact
Ex-
word
Yeah,
for it.
truly.
exactly. So yeah, I think she was really brilliant. I agree that I wish it was kind of kept more secret. I don't actually think I heard that she was in it. So when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's really cool."
So he was
Um
Feige was at like a Chinese version of CinemaCon a couple of weeks ago. He was on
okay.
stage with a cosplayer as Yelena, and he literally just said, "If you're a big fan of her, you want to be going to the cinema because you're going to see her in a film a lot sooner than you think."
That's so
Right?
stupid.
Really
You only
What a
cool.
have two films out
waste.
this year, so you
What
know.
a waste.
Take your pick. What
Yeah,
I did like actually is we get confirmation that she's considered a Black Widow in this. Like she's taken on the
Yeah.
mantle of Black Widow. Obviously,
yeah,
she's been trained as a Black Widow, but we know Black Widow as Natasha.
yeah.
So it's
Mhm.
cool that she actually officially got given that mantle of she's now this Black Widow. I loved that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Any final thoughts on this film that you would like to share that we have not touched on? I gave it 4 stars in my review. You can read my review
Mhm.
over on the website, www.getyourcomiccon.co.uk, along with Bella's wonderful essay on the history of, I was supposed to say Tom
Mhm.
Parker, Tom Holland as Peter Parker. What would you guys have scored it? Final thoughts. Michael, going to come to you first.
I would have given it 4 stars out of the five. And final thoughts, I do think this is the best Spider-Man movie we've had today. I think it is the most like Spider-Man-y movie we've had, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The action's brilliant. I love the director. I think Destin Daniel Cretton. Love his involvement in this. I would love him to
Give him
continue. I
more,
think
please. He is a wonderful director.
wonderful director, understands this world, understands the tone, understands the characters brilliantly. And it makes me excited to see what they do with this next. I'm assuming it's going to be another trilogy, like we're going to get a
Mm,
five and six. So yeah, I'm curious to see where we go next.
Bella.
Yeah, I'm in the same sort of camp. I would give it. I think I gave it 3.5.
Nice.
But I was bordering on 3.5, 4 for sure. Yeah, I think, like I said, my review, my little letterbox review, I was just like super touched by how relatable it was from a neurodivergent experience. Like I think that was like I think like historically superheroes, especially things like the X-Men, have always been relatable to people. Like
Yeah.
we've covered it. But this film in particular, from the like rising spider DNA that he has that makes him have sensory overload, that was an incredible depiction of what overstimulation is like.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
great. Yeah.
yeah, the concept
Mhm.
of having to like literally mask the like differences that you have with like the inhibitor, and then Marissa Tomei's speech about how like we people who love you don't love you because you're different, we love you because you're you.
Yeah.
I was really 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 touched by that. I think that was the part I was most touched about from this film, so I would encourage people to
Love
go and
that.
see it with that angle in their mind, because I think I've already said to like my boyfriend, I was like, I have to make you watch this film because it's such a good way to explain my lived experience.
Mm.
So yeah, I think aside, I thought it was a really really solid Spider-Man film. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's the best or my favorite. I'm gonna just keep championing far from home for as long as I
Do it.
can.
Mhm.
Absolutely do it.
But yeah, I thought it was a really lovely day out to go and watch the film, and I encourage people to go see it. Like go to
Yeah.
the cinema and go see
Go
it.
see it in the
Don't
cinema.
don't
Yeah.
don't wait for it to be out. Just go and see it, because you'll get all of that amazing, incredible action on the biggest screen you can.
Mhm.
And it's just left me wanting even more, and left me questioning so many things and eager for so much more from Spider-Man and from the MCU, which is a really positive thing ahead of Doomsday anyway, whether he turns up or not. So yeah,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it for sure.
Love it. Thank you. And that wraps us up for this episode and our talk on Spider-Man Brand New Day. It is in cinemas globally now, as Bella just put perfectly. Please go watch it. Please go see it on the biggest screen that you possibly can. Support it. See if we can make this the biggest movie of all time, which would just be absolutely insane for a solo movie to overtake a group movie like Avengers as the biggest movie of all time. I'm going to give you both a second to champion things that you might be doing at the moment. Michael, you talked about it a little bit already, but tell us about what you have been doing.
Yeah, so I've kind of been just reshuffling like my Instagram and my TikTok and stuff. I've roped in my boyfriend. We're very much got like a little duo thing going on. We're obviously still talking about movies and TV shows and stuff, but we're also looping in some pop culture stuff because we sit and talk about this stuff at home all the time anyway,
Exactly. Might as
and
well do it on camera.
like may as well like get some fun content out of it. So yeah, we're just having a fun little time. So yeah, you can follow us at the Digital Spiral on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram.
Bella, what else have you been working on at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always writing. So if you go to my Instagram, you'll see I'm working like crazy most of the time. I do a little interview series on my blog, my Substack blog, which is Bella Watches Films, where I interview other like journalists and critics, which is like really fun. You can learn a lot from that if you like want to get into film journalism.
Amazing.
But yeah, everything I do is over on my Instagram. So if you want to find the stuff that I'm writing and have a read, just go there.
Amazing. And I've just dropped all of my interviews with the cast of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 4. I got to sit down, I can't believe this, I got to sit down with
So
Anson Mount,
cool.
who I have interviewed once before, Celia Rose Gooding, who I have also interviewed, I interviewed for last season, and then this was like this, I interviewed Rebecca Romaine. I
It's
interviewed
so cool.
Mystique. Um,
I literally, when I saw you upload that, I was like, "Is that Rebecca Ramin?" And I paused it and zoomed in. I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, "That's
so I
Mystique."
have,
Oh,
there's one little bit more that I have not released yet, which is her specific bit that we spoke about because it's something from this upcoming episode of Star Trek that's out on the 6th of August, which is embargoed. She does a thing. Um, I'll tell you what it is afterwards. Uh, but because it's a big spoiler, I promised Paramount that I would keep back her answer to that question until later on. So I have a little bit more with Rebecca, which is going to be coming out this week. But that is available. There's clips of it across our social media, and then it's on our YouTube channel as well. So please go check that out. We will be back hopefully in a couple of weeks where we're going to be doing our slightly late mid-year wrap up. We're going to talk about all of our favorite things that we have watched and read so far, or played, and or even listened to maybe so far this year. So that will be our next episode. In the meantime, please make sure to follow us on social media. We're at Get Your Comic on all major platforms. Like, subscribe, review, share, thumbs up, do all of those really wonderful things that help support us and find an audience. And you can keep up to date with all of the latest news on our website, which is www.getyourcomiccon.co.uk, which just leaves me to say thank you, Michael. Thank you, Bella, for your first episode.
Thank you.
And we will see you out there in the multiverse. Bye. Thanks for watching, Pop Culture Nerds. There are 2 more videos waiting for you right here. Please make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so that you can get all of our latest videos as soon as they're released.